People's State Bank is a locally owned and managed bank with convenient locations in southwest Wisconsin and northeast Iowa. If you're looking for a place where you're more than just a number, but still have access to convenient technology and low fees, People's State Bank is it. As a community bank, they're proud to support many of the local charities, county fairs, community events, and more. When you become a part of People's State Bank, you can be confident that you're standing with a good cause. People's State Bank, member FDIC.
Good afternoon, baseball fans, and welcome to Grant Regional Health Center and People's State Bank coverage of high school baseball, presented by Cuba City, Kieler, and Darlington Family Dental, and Carey Seamless Gutters and Overhead Doors on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. From Kendall Murray Field at Cuba City High School, the Mineral Point Pointers take on the Cuba City Cubans in Southwest Wisconsin Activities League Baseball. From the Wolf Construction broadcast table, I'm Steve Prestegard. Here is, well, let's start with the very fast, and I mean really fast, Raleigh Cheese pregame show, presented by Raleigh Cheese at the intersection of Highways 11 and 23 in the heart of Lafayette County. Don't forget the cheese. This game comes in with Mineral Point at 1-0 and 1-1 overall, and the Cuba City Cubans still looking for their first win. Obviously, it's very early in the season, but they got beat. Cuba City was defeated by Fenimore 2-0, whereas Mineral Point beat Darlington, the defending champion, actually, in the Southwest Wisconsin Activities League, 11-1 back on Friday. Here is the first pitch of the baseball game, and that is a called strike. We are just now getting out of the air, so we're a little bit disorganized. We'll try to get you caught up on things. Here's the second pitch of the ball game, and that is low, and the count 1-1 strike. Here are the starting lineups. The Fuller's Milker Center starting lineups presented by Fuller's Milker Center. See Fuller's Complete Hygiene line and options for your brand new dairy setup or existing parlor remodel. Fuller's in Lancaster and Richland Center, and at Fuller'sMilkerCenter.com. For Mineral Point, Adam Cody, who's took a 2-1 pitch and grounded to second, where it was dropped and then picked up. And the first out of the ball game, a 6-3 ground out. Adam Cody, the shortstop, will lead off. Grady Findley, the pitcher, will bat second. Clayton Yana, the second baseman, will bat third. Batting fourth, Jackson Wendhausen, the third baseman, who also wears number 5 as things turn out. First pitch to Finley. And here comes the second pitch. That's popped foul and out of play. Continuing the lineup here, Hudson Schrader, the left fielder, bats fifth. Bradlin Lee, the catcher, bats sixth. Batting seventh, the designated hitter, Evan Kearns. Actually, he bats seventh. Batting eighth, Cole Ripp, who is playing first base. Batting ninth is Brett Bossert, who is playing center field. And there is a ground ball and gets through for a base hit. And a base hit up the middle, which is the first of the ball game. The second baseman is Elliot Kite. He is being DH'd for. That's at second base. Starting lineups again brought to you by Fuller's Milker Center. See Fuller's Complete Hygiene line and options for your brand new dairy setup or existing parlor remodel. Fuller's in Lancaster and Richland Center and at fullersmilkercenter.com. First pitch is a strike to the number 3 hitter. Clayton Yana. And the next pitch is a called strike. And it's quickly 2 strikes. Thanks for joining us on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. The 0-2 pitch is popped to short, and the catch made on the infield, 2 away here in the top of the first inning. Still writing down the lineups. That's why there's the kind of the pauses here. There's a pitch that is outside the strike zone. Next pitch. Lined to first for the out. So in the inning, 1 hit, 1 left. And after a half inning, Mineral Point nothing, and Cuba City coming to bat. And here now the Cuba City starting lineups presented once again by Fuller's Milker Center. See Fuller's complete hygiene line and options for your brand new dairy setup or existing parlor remodel. Fuller's in Lancaster and Richland Center, and at fullersmilkercenter.com. Tyson Richard for Cuba City will lead off and play shortstop. Gavin Vossen, the pitcher today, will bat second. Hitting third is Andy Leffelholz, the catcher. And the cleanup batter is Braden Joel, the first baseman. Batting fifth is Henry Cruiser. He's the right fielder. Let me try that again. He's actually the center fielder today, the center fielder. Batting sixth is Talon Venata, and he plays third base. Batting seventh is Frankie Welp, the right fielder. Batting eighth, Cam Guler, the left fielder. And the designated hitter is, let me just check my wrong team, actually wrong sport. Bryce Buxton is the designated hitter, and he is the DH for let's see here, Elliot Cummins, who is playing second base. Starting lineup for the Cuba City Cubans, brought to you by Fuller's Milker Center. See Fuller's complete hygiene line and options for your brand new dairy setup or existing parlor remodel. Fuller's in Lancaster and Richland Center, and at fullersmilkercenter.com. Our injury report brought to you by, as Gavin Vossen throws the first pitch for a strike to the, now that was in the first that was in the first inning. This is Grady Findley on the mound, and he throws the first pitch to Tyson Richard for a strike. And now a time is called. I wonder if we're having some, I wonder what this is about. Well, we'll tell you that the injury report brought to you by Fuller's Milker Center, by Russell Law Offices. If you are injured, contact Russell Law Offices. Their experienced team of professional injury lawyers will fight for your rights and help you get the compensation you deserve. Visit RussellLawWI.com. Not quite sure what this is about, but... Oh, the issue with the pitcher? Our game today, by the way, brought to you by Mound City Bank. Their total line of credit allows you to use the equity in your home to do the things you want. Step into Mound City Bank to apply. Offer subject to approval. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Learn more at moundcitybank.com. Okay, the count has been resolved. It's apparently 1 ball, 1 strike. And the next pitch is a fly ball to left field. And the catch made out in left field, 1 away. In the bottom of the first inning. Having a technical issue that's hardly surprising today, but trying to get something resolved here. And so please bear with us. As soon as we do that, we'll be bringing you the video back. First pitch is a strike to Gavin Vossen. Next pitch. Wind, by the way, is blowing from right to left today, which is kind of typical for here. The next pitch. Fouled off to the right side and out of play. Two balls and 2 strikes. Nobody out. Bottom of the first inning and no score. Yeah, there's a strike. Called strike 2 away in the bottom of the first inning. And here is Andy Leffelholz, the catcher. Colors of the game, by the way, presented by Cuba City, Kieler, and Darlington Family Dental. 3 convenient locations to serve your dental needs. Visit and the pitch is grounded to short, and the throw to first is in time. That ends the first inning. 1-2-3. Go Cuba City in the first, and we have no score. And as I was going to say, colors of the game presented by Cuba City, Kieler, and Darlington Family Dental, 3 convenient locations to serve your dental needs. Mineral Point is wearing the white jerseys with blue pinstripes, and Cuba City is wearing black jerseys, gray pants, and gold trim. We are in the second inning after one hit for Mineral Point, no hits for Cuba City, no runs for anybody. And as I said, we're working on there's a video issue that we now have that we're not quite sure what is up, but we're trying to get it fixed here while we're watching here. Our injury report brought to you by Russell Law Offices. Their experienced team of personal injury lawyers will fight for your rights and help you get the compensation you deserve. Visit RussellLawWI.com. And there were no reported injuries for either team. Everybody seems in good shape. Of course, it is early in the season. And happily, there will be no frostbite issues. Because the temperature is actually not bad as things go compared to what you can get, like yesterday when there was hardly any games taking place, it's 44 degrees. Actually, it's now, it's 44 degrees in Cuba City. First pitch is a called strike. You can see you can hear that there is some wind today. And the next pitch is a ball. Fifth place batter is Hudson Schrader, the left fielder. And there's a strike to make it 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pitch is grounded to second. And the throw gets away. And so a runner at first. Here at the bottom of the second inning, we'll call that an infield single for Schrader. And here is Bradley Lee. Throw is on the steal, and he is out, 2-6. So immediately erased is Schrader trying to steal second, and 1 away. In the bottom of the second inning, no score. That pitch is a called strike to Brylan Lee, the catcher today. Here is the next pitch. And that's outside. Community First Bank, for you in the communities where you live, work, and play. Experience for yourself the difference at Community First Bank, cfbank.com, member FDIC. Next pitch is high for ball 4. Well, it kind of shows the importance of getting the runner caught stealing, because the next batter then ends up reaching Lee via the walk. Third base runner that Mineral Point has had, but nobody has gotten past first base. Here's Evan Kearns, the DH today. Kearns last year a .250 batter. There's a called strike. Next pitch fouled off. Next pitch. Fouled off the screen. And if the camera were working, and I don't know why it isn't, but if it were working, then it would probably have moved it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the pitch. That's outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. We're brought to you by Ivy's Construction, Mineral Point. Ivy Construction Incorporated is a family-owned and operated ready-mix aggregate and excavation company serving Southwest Wisconsin. Ivy's Construction, Mineral Point. Fouled off. That's fouled, popped up. First base side, out of play. Okay, so I guess we're on audio, but we're not on video at the moment. I'm trying to figure that out. That's a hit to left field. And it will be first and second with one away as Kearns with a well-hit ball to left field. Lee gets to second. And here is the 8th place hitter. And taking a called strike, Cole Ripp, the first baseman today. Runners at first and second, one out. Kind of a check swing and a miss. And it's quickly 0-2. We're brought to you by Claire Bank, with their 8 convenient locations in Southwest Wisconsin, proud to support our community events. Claire Bank, where they say we can do that. Member FDIC, rated equal housing lender. Pitch is a check swing for a ball upstairs. No score. One out. Top of the second inning. And that's hit up the middle for a base hit. Runners will hold after gaining a base, so it is bases loaded and one away. So Rip with a base hit, third hit of the inning. Lee gets to third, Kearns to second, and Rip aboard at first. Here's the 9th place hitter, Brett Bossert, the center fielder. And a left-handed bat with a chance to dent the scoreboard for the first time. He takes a called strike, inside corner. Schneel's Heating and Cooling, your local Daikin dealer. Call Bradley Schneider for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning service from Schneel's Heating and Cooling in Bloomington. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2. Two strikes, bases loaded. One away, top of the second inning and the pitch. That's a called strike. 2 away. Back to the top of the order. And Cody, who grounded to short. Grounded to short to lead off the ball game. And that first pitch fouled off out of play. Next pitch, the 0-1 pitch, called strike. And it's 0-2. Gavin Vossen, the pitcher today for the Cubans. Last year, 4-2 with 1 save and a 1.24 ERA and a .88 OPS. Trying to get out of his own jam here. Fouled off the screen. And we'll do 0-2 again. Wind looks like it might have shifted to where it's now actually blowing in. Here's the 0-2. Chopped foul down the third baseline and out of play. And we'll do 0-2 again. Two strikes, 2 out. Bases loaded. Top of the second inning. And the 0-2. High, 1-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 out. And the wind now picks up. Called strike 3, and the inning is over. So, 3 hits in the inning, although 1 erased on a caught stealing, and no runs. Pointers leave the bases loaded, and through 1.5 innings, still no score. Today's game is brought to you by Anderson Weber Toyota and Dubuque, part of our audio stream. Anderson Weber Toyota and Dubuque, when you are ready. Grant Regional Health Center's ortho team, Dr. Brad Binsfeld and Nate Stocco, PEC, provide exceptional care for sports-related injuries. Grant Regional Health Center, better health starts here. Hermson's Ace Hardware and Home Center in Bloomington, and Hermson's Ace Hardware at the bottom of Main and Platteville. See Hermson's for the perfect paint-free decks project. Hermson's Ace Hardware, Bloomington and Platteville. Russell Law Offices, here to assist as your local legal representation. Call for a consultation to discuss personal injury, estate planning, family law, criminal defense, probate administration, and more. Proudly serving Southern Wisconsin, Russell Law Offices. Bottom of the 2nd inning. And after a 1-2-3 first, it will be Joel Cruiser and Venata for the Cubans. Excuse me just a second while I try to fix the video issue we have. First pitch is ball 1. And the pitch out of play. Next pitch. That's outside. And that is ball 4. So Cruiser aboard at first. Okay, I think we got it fixed. Thank you very much to Tyler Dictatus. Now let me see if we can see who's batting here.
Number 9.
Actually, yes, and a swing and a miss by the left-handed Henry Cruiser. Actually, it was Cruiser who was on deck. Joel was the one who walked. I'm actually speaking of the screen here, but thank you for your help anyway, because that fixed my issue. That pitch is inside. We're in the bottom of the 2nd inning, no score. Mineral Point's had runners in the first 2 innings, but not gotten them in. In fact, they left 4 base runners out of the first 2 innings of the game. Popped up. Third base side, and the catch is made 1 away. Catch is made by Jackson Wendhausen, the third baseman. And here is Talon Venata, the third baseman. And the first pitch is low for a ball. See if we can. Oh, no wonder. We have a very touchy screen situation. That's why we're having some issues here. But let's see, did that fix it or not here? Yeah, everything, well, several things worked out right before the game, and now sometimes things get changed up somewhat. For one thing, there were a couple of balls that were hit off the screen, and we're right up. The camera is up against the screen in order to be able to see through the screen. Pitch is outside corner for a strike. Next pitch. Grounded to the infield and out at first, and out at second and out at first. And so a double play. Ends the inning. It ends up being a net 1-2-3 because the walk was erased on the double play, and our score through 2. Mineral Point nothing, and Cuba City nothing on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. Our game today is brought to you by Brian's Auto Body Paint Specialist. The pros of Brian's get the job done right. For unexpected dings or major repair projects, head to Brian's Auto Body and Paint in Lancaster. McNett Electric in Belmont can assist you with all your electrical needs. Chip and his crew at McNett Electric are on call and ready to help you with all of your agricultural, business, and commercial needs. McNett Electric in Belmont. And CJ ATM Service. See Chuck Schneering at or for all your business and large-scale event ATM needs, find CJ ATM Service on Facebook to learn more. CJ ATM Service in Platteville. We're also brought to you by TriStar Pallets of Highland and TriStar Mulch, Cobb, and Platteville. Beautify your home with decorative colored mulch. Give Jim Drury and the gang a call at TriStar Pallets of Highland and TriStar Mulch, Cobb, and Platteville. And First Supply of Platteville, your total commercial plumbing and heating wholesale outlet. When quality parts are needed, the experts rely on First Supply in Platteville. We're in the third inning, and no score. Cuba City has had one walk, and Mineral Point had a runner in the first, stayed at first, and had bases loaded in the second, and nobody got home. And it's Findlay, Yana, and Wendhausen in the second inning. Findlay had a single in the first inning, I should say the top of the third inning. And the pitch outside. Here's the pitch. Fouled off. Let's get to the Cuba City defense here while we have a moment. Gavin Vossett again is the pitcher. Andy Leffelholz is the catcher. Braden Joel is at first base. Henry Cruiser is in center field. Talon Venata is at third base. That pitch is hit up the middle for a base hit. And so, once again, Mineral Point has a runner aboard. Findlay is 2 for 2. Grady Findlay. Here's Yana, who popped a short back in the first inning. Welp, by the way, is in right field. Guler is in left field. And the first pitch called strike. Elliot Cummins is the second baseman for Cuba City. And that's in the stirred, but it's a strike. Runner at first base. We're in the top of the third. And it's 2 strikes. And I guess now I have worked it so you can't actually see who's at the plate. Here's the pitch. Sorry about the screen. We'll have to work with Carey Lawson on that. There's a called strike 3 and 1 out in the bottom of the top of the third inning. And Yada's 0 for 2. Here's Jackson Wendhausen, who lined to first to end the first inning. We have a runner at first. Finley helping his own cause as the pitcher. And the pitch grounded to short. Throw to second, gets the force out. So Finley's gone. And Wendhausen aboard on a fielder's choice with 2 away here in the top of the third inning and still no score. Here is Hudson Schrader, who singled but was erased on a caught stealing 1 inning ago. He takes a ball. There's a called strike. And it's 1-1. When you were this close, you're actually able, you've probably heard complaints before about delayed strike signals, but when the umpire says, yells strike right away, that helps. Pitches outside. That always seems to be the case as it's now 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 out. That always seems to be the case in the postseason where you run into umpires who have very late strike calls and you're not necessarily parked right in front of the plate like we are, right behind the plate like we are. Meanwhile, a swing and a miss, and Schrader strikes out, and that ends the top of the third. 1 hit, 1 left through 3 innings. Mineral Point's left 5 runners on base, and our score after 2.5, still 0-0 Mineral Point and Cuba City. And today's game brought to you by, only if I can get my hands to work here to turn the page. We're brought to you by TriStar Pallets of Highland and TriStar Mulch Cobb and Platteville. Beautify your home with decorative colored mulch. Give Jim Drury and the gang a call at TriStar Pallets of Highland and TriStar Mulch Cobb and Platteville. We're brought to you by First Supply of Platteville, your total commercial plumbing and heating wholesale outlet. When quality parts are needed, the experts rely on First Supply in Platteville. Guys Truck and Tractor for heavy-duty towing and recovery, reliable 24-hour roadside service, and long-distance transports. Call our Guys Truck and Tractor in Kieler and at guystruck.com. Carver's Hardwood Flooring for hardwood flooring, stair installation, or refinishing needs. Call Ryan Carver, the only National Wood Flooring Association certified installer, sander, and finisher in the tri-state area. Carver's Hardwood Flooring in Benton. And Krantz Auto Parts, your local hardware Hank and Napa dealer. See Rob Krantz of the crew at Krantz Auto Parts for full-service repair on cars and light trucks too. Krantz Auto Parts in Fenimore. We're also brought to you, as long as we're here, Bytech Resource Management, a greater way, Bytech Resource Management of Monroe. 7-8-9 for Cuba City. First pitch is a called strike to the 7th hitter, Frankie Welp. Who is playing in right field today. And that is a called strike, and it's quickly 0-2. The defense for the Pointers. Cody is at shortstop, leading off. That pitch is fouled off. Finley, as we mentioned, is the catcher. Yana is at second base. Wendhausen is at third base. And the pitch to Welp outside and high. Hudson Schrader is in left field. The catcher is Bradlin Lee. At second base is Elliot Kite. And that pitch is a strikeout. 1 away. Let me correct one thing I just said. Jan is actually in right field. The 4 looked like a 9, or the 9 looked like a 4. Here's a ground ball to second by the 8th place hitter Cam Kieler, and the throw to first is in time. And 2 away. In the bottom of the 3rd inning. No score. Here's the number 9 hitter. The DH today, Bryce Buxton. First pitch called strike. The next pitch is grounded to the right side and gets through for a base hit. So Buxton aboard at first with 2 out in the bottom of the 3rd, back to the top of the order. And Tyson Richard, who flied to left in the 1st inning. Tyson Richard, of course, was one of the members of the state team that 3 years ago went to Fox City Stadium as the number 4 seed and came back with the biggest and most gold trophy at all. First pitch called strike. Gavin Voss, I think, was also on the team. Now that I think about it, pitch is down the 3rd baseline, foul, and catch is made. Catch is not made by Wendhausen. Looked like he was going to get it, but he was unable to hold on to it. So Richard back to the play. If I remember right, Richard and Vossen, I think, were both part-time starters on that team. They would start in place of whoever the pitcher was when he had a field position. Of course, that team, that was still one of the great stories in the great tradition of Cuba City sports. There's a throw to second on the steal attempt. And safe at second. So Buxton steals second. And he's in scoring position with 2 out in the bottom of the 3rd inning. And no score. Meanwhile, back to Richard. Fly ball left field down the 3rd base line. Trying to get over there was the left fielder, but he was not able to get to it. Hudson Schrader. That pitch misses. That's 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Buxton at second. Got there at a base hit and stole the base. Outside corner, missed, and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. Gavin Vossen on deck. Here is the 3-2. Up the middle, hits the pitcher's mound, and goes into center field for a base hit. Buxton around third. He will score, and Cuba City is on the board. RBI single for Tyson Richard. Buxton comes around to score, and it's 1-0 Cuba City with 2 out in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Now Vossen, who struck out looking in the 1st inning, and swings and misses here for strike 1. Here is the 0-1 pitch. Fouled off the screen. Now I got to check the screen and make sure that the camera is still in place, which it appears to be. It's 2 strikes. Actually, it's a little bit behind, so if I were right up against the against the screen, then it would be moving around. But at least we're on, which is the thing that we were not able to do online last week when we were at Splinter Park. Swing and a miss. And the inning is over as Vossen strikes out for the second time. However, Cubans get a run on 2 hits and leave 1. And our score after 3 innings, Cuba City 1, Mineral Point nothing, here on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. And we thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're brought to you by Carey Seamless Gutters and Overhead Doors, Belmont Prairie du Chien, and at Carey's Gutters and Doors.com. We're also brought to you by Sloan Implement, your official John Deere. Let me try that again. Sloan Implement, your official John Deere dealer in Bloomington, Cuba City. That's right down there, down to the south. Montfort and at Sloans.com. Bouse Electric, call Brad Adrian and Josh Busher at Bouse Electric, Lancaster and Fenimore. WCC Brands Custom Apparel at Kieler and at WCC-brands.com. People's State Bank for personal, home, business, and ag loans. Visit one of their convenient area locations or visit peoplesfinancial.com, member FDIC. Gary's Pest Control in Dickeyville. Gary's Pest Control salutes our local athletes. Gary's Pest Control, over 40 years of professional friendly service. And Donnie's Tire Auto, call the only hooker in town for 24-hour towing service at 568-3014, 568-3014. Your home for excellent car care, Donnie's Tire and Auto in Dickeyville. 1-0 in favor of Cuba City as we go to the top of the 4th inning. Mineral Point's had runners on base in every inning, but none have scored. And the first pitch is a called strike. And the Cubans got their first runner aboard, and then got him around to score in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Next pitch outside corner for a strike, and it's 0-2. Lee walked, got to 3rd in the 2nd, but did not score. And here's the 0-2 pitch, and went after it and fouls it off. On the Shoebox scoreboard, presented by the Shoebox in Black Earth, the largest independent shoe store in the Midwest. Also in the Swall today, Darlington is at Boscobel, Fenimore is at Iowa Grant, and Riverdale is at Southwestern. That is in baseball. Another 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss and a high fastball. 1 out. Also today in baseball, in the SWC, Prairie du Chien is at Westby, and Platteville is at Wisconsin Dells. In the 6 Rivers, Potosi, Cassville at Argyle, Blackhawk, Barneveld, Belmont, Monticello, Albany is at Highland, Shullsburg, Benton is at Pecatonica, and River Ridge is at Wazeeka Steuben. First pitch is ball 1 to Kearns, who singled in the 2nd inning. Line score at this point, 1 run, 1 hit for Cuba City. That pitch is low, and no runs, 4 hits, actually 5 hits for Mineral Point. There have been no errors. Pointers have left 5 runners on board. Cuba City has left 1, but they've got the lead. Popped up, and catch made in right field, and 2 away. Well, making the catch. Here is Rip, who singled back in the 2nd inning. Also on the Shoebox scoreboard in softball, Richland Center is at Wisconsin Dells, Boscobel's at Prairie du Chien. Wazeeka Steuben is at Fenimore. In the 6 Rivers, Potosi, Cassville at Argyle, Blackhawk, Benton, Shullsburg at Barneveld, Monticello, New Glarus at Highland, Belmont at Judah, Albany, Pecatonica at River Ridge, and in the Ridge and Valley Conference, Seneca at Lafarge, and Kickapoos at Cashton. 2 balls and no strikes to Rip, the number 8 hitter. That is hit to right field, and that'll be a base hit. Once again, Mineral Point gets a runner aboard. Had one in every inning, but none of them to this point has scored. Bossert struck out looking in the bottom of the second inning, or the top of the second inning. He takes ball one. Somebody back behind us in the bleachers dropped something. It makes the exact same sound that if a foul ball had gotten over the net and landed there. High, 2 balls and no strikes. You can see Bossert on a 40-something degree day with some wind, not wearing any sleeves. That's called strike 2 and 1, and it would appear as though, actually, he's not the only one who's not wearing sleeves. Of course, baseball players move around and all that, whereas fans and announcers really don't. Swing and a miss. 2 balls and 2 strikes. It's nicer than it was. It's not as windy as it was a week ago. Of course, yesterday, a lot of games got called off because it was just too cold between a cooler temperature and more wind. That pitch is upstairs, and it's 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Runner at first, top of the 4th, and a 1-0 Cuba City lead. And here's the 3-2. Runner goes, strike 3 anyway. And so once again, the Cubans are able to turn back the Pointers. They get a hit, but no runs. Leave 1. Now they have now left 6 through 4 innings. And halfway through the game, after 3.5, it is Cuba City 1 and Mineral Point nothing. And now as I look for, here it is, we'll tell you that today's game is brought to you by Mound City Bank. Their total line of credit allows you to use the equity in your home to do the things you want. Step into Mound City Bank to apply. Offer subject to approval. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Learn more at moundcitybank.com. Ivy's Construction in Mineral Point. Ivy's Construction Incorporated is a family-owned and operated ready-mix aggregate and excavation company serving Southwest Wisconsin. Ivy Construction Mineral Point. Schneidl's Heating and Cooling, your local Daikin dealer. Call Bradley Schneider for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning service from Schneidl's Heating and Cooling in Bloomington. Anderson Weber Toyota Week prior to our audio stream. Anderson Weber Toyota Week when you are ready. Great Regional Health Center, the ortho team, Dr. Brad Binsfeld and Nate Stocco, PAC, provide exceptional care for sports-related injuries. Great Regional Health Center, better health starts here. Bottom of the 4th inning. And a game moving along here with Cuba City leading 1-0, and the 3-4-5 batters, Leffelholz, Joel, and Cruiser for the Cubans. And the first pitch fouled off. Check the screen. Looks okay. Strike 1. Cubans in Mineral Point last year had their seasons end in the exact same way. And that pitch fouled off the backstop, and it's 2 strikes. Both of them lost to Viroqua. The Cubans got beat in the regional final after the Pointers got beaten, both by the same scores, 2-0. That's down the third baseline, and a fair ball. And going to first and holding there is Leffelholz. And that's just the 3rd hit in the game that Grady Findley has given up. So Leffelholz aboard at first. And here's Joel, who walked in the first and then was double off, or was on the front end of a double play to end the 2nd inning. Try that again. Yeah, the 2nd inning. As the wind has now picked up quite a bit, as you can probably hear on the microphones. Pitch grounded foul down the third baseline. Runner was going. Now he will have to go back, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Yeah, back-to-back days. Mineral Point went to Viroqua and lost 2-0. And then Cuba City went to Viroqua and lost 2-0. And those two ended up being the final 2 wins in the very storied career of Viroqua coach Peter Swanson. Pete Swanson, a legend in high school baseball, 49 years coaching the Viroqua Blackhawks. Unfortunately, Pete Swanson died back in July. He was, I believe, 75 years old. And again, he'd been the coach for 49 years. And a great guy. It was very sad to hear about his death as the pitch fouled off. Really a great ambassador of baseball, both in WIA baseball in the spring and then American Legion baseball in the summer. That facility, the bowl in Viroqua, is a great place to have baseball. That pitch fouled off. The Viroqua Park Bowl. Great facilities. They've got the facilities are terrific there. The setting is great. They've got some old houses way up on the hill between left field and center field, and every time you see, oh, it's in Viroqua, that's terrific. It's just a great facility, great place for baseball. And there have been a lot of Legion State tournaments played in Viroqua. That pitch is downstairs. The throw to second, not in time, stolen base. And so Levels at second. Joel, meanwhile, the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Nobody out. Bottom of the 4th inning, and Cuba City leading 1-0 over Mineral Point. Chop fouled on the third baseline. Of course, these two teams, it's been a good stretch for them the last several years. Mineral Point, of course, had the back-to-back trips to state in 2018 and 2019. And, of course, you know what Cuba City did a couple of years ago. Fly ball center field. And the catch is made in center field by Cruiser. Back to second. Check. Well, that would be funny if that were Cruiser because he's playing for Cuba City. That is actually Bossert in center field making the catch. Here is Cruiser, meanwhile. And you can tell him because the big left-handed batter and takes a called strike on a check swing for strike 1. There's 1 out. In the bottom of the 4th, Cuba City leading 1-0 over Mineral Point. Trying to add some insurance. Well, it's obviously very early. Curve that misses, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, it isn't early, but it's not late. Mineral Point obviously has the 5th, 6th, and 7th to tie the game. Fouled off, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Apparently, I guess with Cuba City and also with Mineral Point, the coaches leave it up to the players as to whether they want to wear sleeves or not in weather like this. There's no hard and fast rule. That's a called strike. And Cruiser retired, 2 away. Cruiser previously popped out to third. And here's Veneta, who hit into a double play back in the 2nd inning. Grounded to third. Scooped and not scooped out. And a run will score. As coming in from third is Loveholes. And it's 2-0. And I'm going to, well, let's see. Is that an error or a hit? error on the throw. So Leffelholz scores. Veneta does not get an RBI for that reason. And here's Welp, who fouls it off down the third baseline. Welp struck out back in the third inning. 2-0 Cuba City with 2 out in the bottom of the fourth inning. That's a called strike on the outside corner. It's 1-1. So as we sit here behind home plate from the perspective of the Wolf Construction broadcast table, there's hardly any wind, and according to the flag in center field, it's blowing a lot harder from center. That's a cue shot and caught, and that ends inning number 4. But Cuba City adds a run. On a hit and an error, and leaves 1. Cubans have left 2 runners aboard through 4. And through 4, it is Cuba City 2, Mineral Point nothing. And so, our game today brought to you by Herms' Ace Hardware and Home Center in Bloomington. And Herms' Ace Hardware at the bottom of Maine in Platteville. See Herms' for the perfect paint for your next project. Herms' Ace Hardware, Bloomington and Platteville. Also, Community First Bank for you in the communities where you live, work, and play. Experience for yourself the difference at Community First Bank, cfbank.com, member FDIC. Russell Law Offices, here to assist as your local legal representation. Call for a consultation to discuss personal injury, family law, estate planning, criminal defense, probate administration, and more. Proudly serving Southern Wisconsin, Russell Law Offices. Also brought to you by Brian's Auto Body and Paint Specialist, the pros at Brian's. Get the job done right for unexpected dings or major repair projects. Head to Brian's Auto Body and Paint in Lancaster. McNett Electric in Belmont can assist you with all of your electrical needs. Chip and his crew at McNett Electric are on call ready to help you with your agricultural, business, and commercial needs. McNett Electric in Belmont. And CJ ATM Service. See Chuck Schneering for all your business and large-scale event ATM needs. Find CJ ATM Service on Facebook to learn more. CJ ATM Service in Platteville. Also brought to you by Clare Bank with their 8 convenient locations in Southwest Wisconsin. Proud to support our community events. Clare Bank, where they say we can do that, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender. We go to the 5th inning. Cuba City with 2 runs, 3 hits, and no errors. They have left 2 runners on board. Mineral Point, no runs, 5 hits, 1 error, and they have left 5 runners on board. Top of the order in the top of the 5th for the Pointers. And that is grounded to short. Well hit, but aimed right at the shortstop Tyson Richard and 1 away. Cody previously grounded to short in the first and then struck out looking in the second. Finley has 2 hits today. He was erased on a fielder's choice on the second hit back in the 3rd inning. And that's ball 1. So as we sit here at Candleberry Field, next pitch, high, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. It's the orientation of the field. We talked about this on Thursday when we were over at Splitter Park for softball. The orientation is a little unusual for what you usually see in baseball. 2-0 pitch, called strike 2-1 on the outside corner. Most ballparks, as Major League Baseball evolved from the 19th century and the 20th century, most ballparks had a sort of generally westerly to easterly orientation. Pitch fouled on the first baseline and fouled, which means that if you are right now batting at home plate and looking out toward the pitcher and to center field, you're typically somewhere between southwest and northwest, looking to, conversely, the northeast or the southeast. 2-2 pitch, curveball is 3-2. And I gather the reason for that basically was that the idea was to not have the batter looking at the pitcher and into the sun at the same time. Here's the 3-2 pitch, and there's another base hit to left field. 6th hit for the Pointers, and the 3rd hit in the game for Grady Findlay. Clayton Yana popped to short in the 1st, struck out looking in the 3rd. They've had 6 hits, but the first 5 got left on base without scoring. So, for instance, American Family Field, formerly Miller Park, and the former Milwaukee County Stadium both were northwest to southeast. Wrigley Field is southwest to northeast, and Yankee Stadium is west to east. This place is different because home plate is in the northeast quarter of the diamond, and looking out at the pitcher, look to the southwest. That hit is hit well to right field, and that is going to be cut off before going to the wall, but it will be a single, but getting to 3rd will be Findlay. And so 1st and 3rd, 7th hit of the game for the Pointers, and it's 1st and 3rd and 1 out. And Wendhausen, who lined to first in the 1st and then reached on a fielder's choice in the 3rd. They've had base runners, they just haven't gotten them home. 2-0 Cuba City, top of the 5th inning with 1 out. First pitch is high for ball 1. Gavin Vossen and his defense have been able to wriggle out of every situation that they've been in at having base runners aboard. There's a called strike, and it's 1-1. Cubans with almost all of their players back from last season, so obviously they're a favorite in the swab. Mineral Point has a few they had to replace. Runner goes. Pitches a strike, and getting to second without a throw is Yana. So it's 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. And the count 1-2 And that's hit, line to short, and dropped. Or was it? Yeah, he's at first. Time is called. And okay, now home plate umpire just clarified that it was a catch. So Wendhausen is out, 2 away, and it's still 2nd and 3rd. Here's Hudson Schrader, who singled in the 2nd but was caught stealing, struck out in the 3rd. 2-0 Cuba City. Check swing for a strike. 2 out. Runners at 2nd and 3rd in the top of the 5th. The 0-1 pitch. Called strike. One thing Vossen's been able to do the entire game is paint that outside corner to get strike calls. And he's ahead here, 0-2. And the pitch. High, 1-2. Cuba City looking for its first win of the season. Cubans got beat by East Dubuque 10-5 back on Thursday. That's low, 2-2. Then on Friday, got beat 2-0 by Fenimore. Mineral Point 1-1. As mentioned, they beat Darlington 11-4 on Friday. Before that, they got beat by Pecatonica 4-3. 2-2 to right field, and that drops for a base hit. That'll score at least 1 and 2, and we're tied. 2-run single for Hudson Schrader, his second hit of the game. Finley scores, and Yana scores. And we're back to even. And here's Bryland Lee, who walked in the second, struck out in the fourth. Now, the Cubans have been able to get all of the base runners out until there, and so we're back to square one at 2-2, with 2 out of the top of the 5th inning. Swing and a miss at a high breaking ball for strike one. Here's the 0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. No real move from first yet by Schrader. And a throw back. Schrader dives in time.
Hey, come on, Brian. Here we go, kid.
One ball, 1 strike. That's hit to center field, or right center, but caught. And the inning is over. But 3 runs yield a hit. Let's try that again. 3 hits yield 2 runs. 1 runner aboard and 1 runner left aboard, and our score through 4 1/2. Mineral Point 2, Cuba City 2. Whoops. You put stuff on clipboards because of the wind, and then suddenly something gets caught and half of your stuff ends up flying. We're brought to you by Mound City Bank. Their total line of credit allows you to use the equity in your home to do the things you want. Stop in at Mound City Bank to apply. Offer subject to approval. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. Learn more at moundcitybank.com. Also brought to you by Ivy's Construction in Mineral Point. Ivy Construction Incorporated is a family-owned and operated ready-mix aggregate and excavation company serving Southwest Wisconsin. Ivy's Construction, Mineral Point. Bottom of the 5th inning in the 8-9-1 batters, Guler, Buxton, and Richard. And that was the combination that actually led to Cuba City's first run back in the 3rd inning. Guler grounded to short back in the 3rd. You have to think, you look at a game like this where one team has all the hits but none of the runs, that at some point you would think that that team will finally figure out a way to get a runner aboard, and that is exactly what happened at the top of the 5th with Hudson Schrader's 2-run single that has tied the game. And the pitch grounded to short. Actually caught for 1 away. Lost it in the sun. Here's Buxton, who singled, stole a base, and scored in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Buxton, the 9th batter, takes low out outside for ball 1. Yeah, you come to Cuba City, of course, 12 state girls basketball championships, but also that baseball title back in 2022. That's low, 2 balls and no strikes. That was a team that was the number 4 seed. And there's ball 4. So Buxton aboard for the 2nd time. And back to the top of the order, and Richard, who flied to left in the 1st, singled, RBI single in the 3rd inning, the first run for the Cubans. And that's well hit to center field. And drops in for a base hit. Going to second is Buxton. So the second hit of the game for Tyson Richard. And it's first and second. Here's Vossen, who struck out looking in the first and swinging in the third. As the wind picks up a little bit here. First pitch. That is hit to right center. And drops for a base hit. And the bases are now loaded. So Buxton now at third. Richard now at second. And Vossen at first. Here's Leffelholz, who grounded to short in the first. And then singled and scored in the fourth inning. Popped up down the third baseline. And that is caught by Wendhausen. Quickly 2 out. So it's up to Braden Joel, who walked and was thrown out in the second inning trying to steal, then fly to center in the fourth inning. 2 away, bottom of the fifth, tied at 2. Up the middle, and the throw to first in time, a 4-3 put out, 4-3 out, kite to Rip. And we're done with the fifth inning. 2 hits and a walk, but no runs. And the bases loaded are left. And our score through 5, Mineral Point 2, Cuba City 2. And today's game brought to you by Community First Bank. For you in the communities where you live, work, and play, experience for yourself the difference at Community First Bank, cfbank.com, member FDIC. To the 6th inning we go. Mineral Point with 2 runs on 8 hits and 1 error. They have left 7 runners on base. Cuba City with 2 runs on 5 hits, and no errors, and they have left 5 runners on base. And it looks like we have a new pitcher as Talon Venata, who was at third base, is now pitching. And I would guess that means that Gavin Vasa is probably out at shortstop. Can't tell from here, but I believe that's correct. Actually, that would not be correct because Vossen, yeah. Because Richard is at shortstop. So somebody is new at third also. And would that be possibly Richard going to third and Vossen to short? And that does appear to be the case. So Richard now playing at third base and Vossen now at short, the left side of the infield. And the pitcher all change. And to the 6th inning we go in the 7, 8, 9 batters. And Kearns takes outside for ball 1. Kearns singled in the 2nd inning, flied to right in the 4th. First pitch. Grounded to third, dropped and picked up. High throw, but in time. That was a little bit of an adventure, but 1 out. Welcome to third base, Tyson. And Kearns is 1 for 3. Here's Rip, who singled. Actually, he's 2 for 2. Singles in the 2nd and in the 4th. Fouled off down the third baseline for strike 1. Yeah, the Cuba City team in in 2022, they won the Southwest Wisconsin Activities League, but did not. They were the only unranked team at state, 1 ball, 1 strike, and therefore got the number 4 seed. Playing the first game against, I think it was Amherst in their pitcher with a microscopic ERA. And actually, Amherst, if I remember right, was undefeated in that game, but left after the first game. Throwback. That misses 2 balls and 2 strikes. Count now. And of course, that semifinal game would be considered the tornado watch game because the whole game was played under a tornado watch as a big curveball misses and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes with 1 out. That was one of those unusual weather situations where if you were listening back here, you were in the same tornado watch that we were in Grand Chute. Ground ball to short, 2 away. So here's Bossert, struck out looking in the second, struck out swinging in the fourth. And again, the left-handed hitting Bossert. Time called. Ball 1. And then, of course, the next day against St. Croix Falls, St. Croix Falls, if I remember right, they had a pitcher who hadn't given up a run all year, at least an earned run all year, but he didn't pitch in the championship game. He pitched in the semifinal game. That's a swing and a miss, 1-1. And it turned out their other pitchers were not up to the task up at state, and Cuba City was, and won the state title as the number 4 seeded unranked team. Swing and a miss, 1 ball, 2 strikes with 1 out. Of course, the funny coded to that game is the pitches upstairs 2-2. Tyler DeCantis, who broadcasted up there along with myself, he ran into Jeff Pastina, the longtime Cuba City girls basketball coach and athletic director. That's a called strike. And the inning is over, the top of the 6th. A 1-2-3 6th, and through 5.5. Mineral Point 2, Cuba City 2. And today's game is brought to you by Community First Bank. For you in the communities where you live, work, and play, experience for yourself the difference at Community First Bank, cfbank.com, member FDIC. So to complete that story, as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning at a 2-2 tie, Tyler DeCantis witnessed this exchange between a woman and obviously a Cubans baseball fan, and Jeff Pastina, the longtime girls basketball coach and the athletic director. And the woman said to Jeff, well, I guess you could say Cuba City is a baseball town. And Jeff said, no, Cuba City is a title town, which is a good line. They should actually, they could really make everybody, all the opposing teams that they play here in Cuba City, angry if they just put a title town sign coming into town with a list of all of the state championships. 12 in girls basketball, 3 in boys basketball. I should know the number in volleyball because I covered a couple of them. 5, 6, 7 batters, anyway, here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Cruiser, Banana, and Welp. Cruiser popped to third in the second, and then struck out looking in the 4th. And that's outside for ball 1. 2-2 tie. Mineral Point and Cuba City. Cubans got a run in the 3rd and in the 4th. Mineral Point got 2 in the 5th. Fouled off down the right field line. Ball is strike. There's a called strike, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. The thing about that Cuba City team, I'm not sure that anybody on that team ended up playing college baseball. I'm not aware that they did, but everybody on that team, and that's fouled off at the plate, did their roles. They had very good pitching. They had very good defense, and they had timely hitting. And every time something needed to happen, whether that was stopping a threat or getting a run when they needed it, they got it done. That's just how they did it. That's a called strike for 1 out. In the bottom of the 6th inning. Now Vedetta, who hit into a double play in the 2nd inning, reached on an error in the 4th, the only error of the game to this point, and he takes a strike on the outside corner at the knees. One ball, 1 strike. Mineral Point, as we mentioned, back-to-back trips to state in 2018 and 2019. They had a great 1-2 pitching combination. Although actually that team, it wasn't just those 2 guys. They had one of the deepest teams you'll ever see pitching-wise in high school. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. They had the lefty-righty combination with Grady Gorgon and Curtis Cox. Plus they had, Liam Stumpf and Justin Baylor. And that hit him. That hits Venata. And so he's aboard at first as the potential go-ahead run with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th at a 2-2 tie. Liam Stumpf, of course, ended up playing college baseball. First, now you should know this, one of the Missouri schools and then at Madison College. That's a strike on the outside corner. But they got to state in different divisions, which is kind of different. 2018, they were in Division III, lost to La Crosse Aquinas. 2019, they beat Belmont, swing and a miss in Division IV. That was a weird one, too. They have 2 schools that are, 7 miles apart on 151, end up in state together in the same division but different sectionals. And then, of course, Mineral Point, after beating Belmont in the rain, got beat by Webster, coached by former Major League pitcher Jared Washburn. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 away. In the bottom of the 6th, tying the go-ahead run at first base. Runner goes, hit to center field, and that is going to be dropping, and it will be 1st and 3rd on a base hit. By Welp. And now here's Guler. So Welp 1 for 3. Venata gets to 3rd, so he's the go-ahead run 90 feet away with 1 out. And here's Cam Guler. And takes a strike. Guler struck out, or let's try that again. Guler grounded to short in the 3rd inning, then popped to short in the 5th inning. Oh, 1 misses, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Going back to Cuba City's winning state, the crazy thing about all of that is how close they got to losing their very first game as that's hit down the left field line fall. It kind of comes to back to the discussion we were having about the layout of this place being a little bit unusual with home plate in the northeast corner, and that's a topographical and property design reason, basically. Here's the 0-2 pitch. And instead of fake to third, and now they got the runner in a pickle. But he's going to get to second because they were concerned about Veneta at third. So he gets out of it, gets a stolen base, and it's second and third. Now with one out. So that was well played as it turned out by Welp. And meanwhile, a hit up the middle, and a run will score on the 6-3 ground out by Kieler. So he'll get an RBI out of it. Veneta scores. It's 3-2 Cuba City. And Welp gets over to third. So the Cubans have the lead. Here's Buxton. Singled and scored in the first inning with a stolen base. Walked in the, we'll try that again, the third inning. And walked in the fifth inning. Pitch is fouled off. Dribbles down the first baseline for a one strike. Remember that Cuba City, their very first game they played right here against Fenimore. And the wind was blowing in for the southwest, which among other things is a pitch outside, 1-1 strike, made it hard to see if you were sitting in the stands or right behind the home plate broadcasting the game. Also made it a 1-0 ball game as things turned out. That is hit short down the third baseline, and the throw gets away, and that'll score another run. Run actually would have scored anyway, but it ends up being an error. Second of the game by the Pointers. Welp scores, and so it's 4-2. And now the two umpires are talking. Somebody from Mineral Point just said it hit the runner. And if that is the case, I'll try to decide if that was the case or not. If it is, then the runner is out. And apparently they've decided that was not the case. So it's 4-2 Cuba City. 2 out at the bottom of the sixth. Back to the top of the order, and Tyson Richard, who flied to left in the first, singled in the third, and an RBI single in the fifth inning. Let me try that again. Actually, the RBI single was in the third, not the fifth, and he fouls the first pitch off for strike one. But back to that first playoff game, Cuba City and Fenimore. The winning run, the only run of the game, was on a balk in the sixth inning. The wind was blowing so hard from center field as that's hit foul off the backstop, 2 strikes. But the wind was blowing so hard in addition to all the dust that it kicked up, that you couldn't possibly get get anything out to the outfield. And so the game ended up a 1-0 win for the Cubans. Meanwhile, in Mineral Point, with their ballpark completely opposite orientation, that is grounded to short, and the throw to first in time to end the inning. But Cuba City gets 2 runs, 1 hit and a hit batsman, and an error. Leaves 1, and our score after 6, Cuba City 4, Mineral Point 2. Here on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. And today's game brought to you by Mound City Bank. Their total line of credit allows you to use the equity in your home to do the things you want. Stop in at Mound City Bank to apply. Offer subject to approval. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Learn more at moundcitybank.com. Top of the 7th inning after Cuba City got 2 in the 6th to take the lead. Cuba City with 4 runs. I think 8 hits and no errors. They have left 6 runners on base. I'll check those before the end of the game. Mineral Point with 2 runs, 9 hits, 2 errors, and they have left 7 runners on base. Talon Venata, who came in the 6th inning, he stands to be the winning pitcher, but he has to get through the top of the order first. Cody, Finley, and Yana, who have 4 hits in this game. Of course, the real story of the game, other than Cuba City getting their 4 runs, is the fact that the Pointers have had a lot of runners on base and left them on base. Didn't have a runner score until the 2 runs in the 5th. Cody today grounded to short in the 1st inning, struck out looking in the 2nd, grounded to short in the 5th. And he's ahead on the count right now, 2 balls and no strikes. Swing and a miss. Actually, other than the last inning, the 6th inning, the top of the 6th, was the only inning in this game that Mineral Point was retired 1-2-3. Here's the 2-1, 3-1. So Mineral Point's had plenty of chances. They just haven't been able, other than that 2 runs, the 2 runs in the 5th inning, they haven't had the chance to connect on them, and that pitch is hit foul. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes, fouled off at the plate. We were talking about Cuba City beating Fenimore in that game 1-0. Meanwhile, Mineral Point, as it's hit, fouled off at the plate, still 3-2. Mineral Point's field is exact opposite of this one. The home plate's in the southwest corner, and it played like Wrigley with the wind blowing out. It was 11-8, Mineral Point beating Prairie du Chien in that game. But the problem was they had to use 3 pitchers in that game, and so they kind of ran out of pitching. Meanwhile, here, ball 4, and so Cody aboard. And that brings the tying run to the plate. And Grady Finley, who has 3 hits and a run scored today. Singled in the 1st, singled but erased out of fielder's choice in the 3rd, and then an RBI single and came in to score, or actually singled, scored back in the 5th. One strike to Finley, and Venata's pitch. And that hit him. Well, that prevented him from getting another hit, but he is now the tying run at first base with Cody moving to 2nd. The defense, by the way, in the outfield, Kieler, Cruiser, and Welp. And again, the switching around because of the change in pitcher with Venata moving from 3rd to pitcher. Richard is now 3rd, Vossen is short. Cummins still at 2nd, Joel still at 1st, Leffel still a catcher. Here's Yana, popped to short in the 1st, struck out looking in the 3rd, and singled and scored in the 5th. 2 runners on, nobody out, tying run at 1st. Chopped to 3rd. And they'll get the sure out at 1st. Yana retired. He does move the runners along. So it's Cody now to 3rd, and Finley now to 2nd. Here's Wendhausen, who lined to 1st in the 1st, reached on a fielder's choice in the 3rd, lined to short in the 5th. Yeah, that's a ball in the dirt. 1-0. Popped up. Down the 3rd baseline, and it's Richard making the catch right along the 3rd baseline. 2 away. Pointers down to their last out. Hudson Schrader singled but was caught stealing in the 2nd, struck out into the 3rd, singled, actually the 2-run single in the 5th, and now the defense and Coach Steve Graber will come out. They'll decide how they want to deal with this. You got Cody at third. Findlay, the tying run, is at second. First base is open. And maybe that was a discussion. Do they want to walk Schrader, who has 2 hits today and 2 RBIs, with first base open? Or maybe pitch around him. That would be an option also. Grounded to third. And the throw to first is in time, and the game is over. So I guess Graber said, hey, get him to hit it to third, and that takes care of it. A walk and a hit batter, no runs, 2 left. Our final score, Cuba City 4, Mineral Point 2. Cubans get their first win of the season, and Cuba City will be going to Darlington on Thursday. Mineral Point has a non-conference game at Platteville on Thursday. By the way, these two teams meet again in Mineral Point on May 9th, and to no surprise, they are both in the same half-sectional bracket as well. Time now for the Edward Jones Reeves Wealth Management post-game show here on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel, and that gives you an opportunity to hear me add, if you're really interested in that. For Cuba City in the ball game, I think I said that wrong before. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Cubans, no errors, and Cuba City left 6 runners on base. Mineral Point in the ball game today, 2 runs, 9 hits. They had 2 errors. And the big killer for them, 9 runners left on base in this baseball game. Taylor Venata, who pitched the last 2 innings in relief of starter Gavin Vossen, he gets the win. And the loss goes to Grady Findlay, who went the whole way. And the hitting stars in the game, Grady Findlay for Mineral Point, 3 for 3. And Hudson Schrader, 2 for 3 with 2 runs driven in. Also, Cole Ripp, 2 for 3 in the baseball game as well. For Cuba City, Tyson Richard, 2 for 4 with an RBI. 2 RBIs, 2 runs ended up scoring on those errors, so there were only 2 RBIs in the game. Cam Guler was 0 for 3, but had an RBI. Welp was 1 for 3 with a run scored, and so was Levels 1 for 3 with a run scored in the baseball game. Tricor Turning Point presented by Tricor Insurance. Insurance plans built for you, your family, and your business. Contact Tricor Insurance today. And I suppose you would have to say it would probably be the bottom of the 6th inning when the Cubans put together a hit batter, a base hit, and took advantage of an error to score what turned out to be the winning runs in the game. And the winning run actually scored on Guler's ground out, and then Buxton reached on an error to score the 2nd run of the game. And that bottom of the 6th inning turns out to be the Tricor Turning Point, again brought to you by Tricor Insurance. Insurance plans built for you, your family, and your business. Contact Tricor Insurance today. Well, here is what we have coming up on the Queen Bee Radio family of stations. once I find the correct clipboard with the list. We have, among other things, Brewers baseball tonight. The Brewers are in Colorado, 7:05 start on AM 1590 WPVL, and tomorrow night at 7:05 on AM 1590 WPVL. Thursday, we will head to Prairie du Chien for softball. Platteville and Prairie du Chien, 4:40 start on X1071 and the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. Also, Brewers in Colorado at 1:35 on AM 1590 WPVL. This weekend, Brewers at Arizona, 8:05 Friday, 6:35 Saturday, 2:35 Sunday on AM 1590 WPVL. We'll have softball on Monday, Belmont at Potosi Cassville at 4:40 on X1071 and the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. And we will have softball on Tuesday, Dodgeville at Platteville at 4:40 on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. RJ Osterhaus is our sports director. Johnny Page is our chief engineer. Tyler Dictanis, again, Mr. Streaming Fix-It. Thanks to Carey Lawson and the staff at Cuba City High School. Thanks to our sponsors who help us bring this game to you.